Ich möchte ein bisschen auch über die Malerei, über die verschiedenen Phasen sprechen, also über die Teile, wie sich das entwickelt hat. Und womit habe ich begonnen und wie ist es dann weitergegangen? Und warum hat sich's geändert und warum waren immer wieder neue Perioden da, die immer wieder großes Interesse bei mir geweckt haben. Warum bin ich da durchgegangen? Und ich hoffe, dass wir hier ein bisschen Platz haben, dass ich dann teilweise Bilder hineinsetzen kann. Und well, I think after before I came into my education program as a graphic designer, I had a kind of unique own style of painting, drawing, and I had my own strange or personal figurative world to create something, to show. I had a kind of drawing from realistic parts, but in my style, and it was always mixed up with parts of fantasy maybe. And then came the graphic design education, and this education part had been very perfect in the technique, and I learned a lot of very perfect drawing, to draw a body, a nude person, to draw animals, to draw an apple, matchbox, whatever. That was a very good education, but after I had been finished, I was now trained to work as a graphic designer and I could do the stuff, but the creativity of my own personal artwork had been pressed away in that time, or not complete, but it was very like squeezed and in the back. And after I finished, I worked on one side as a graphic designer, but on the other side I wanted to bring my kind of personal expression in the picture world back, and it came back. And that was the reason why at the beginning I had a lot of drawings to do and paperwork, and I need to find my own language back. It was very important to get to my own language back. The language existed before, it was permanent there, but I wanted to get it back out. And then I worked, and I think the first period was such a mixture between the graphic design education, so this is perfection, and the rough own handwriting style. And then it switched luckily more and more over to the handwriting style, and I at this time one of my first girlfriends had been, she had a Hungarian father, and there had been a little house in Hungary, and we drove many weekends there. And I discovered an interesting cheap paper shop in Hungary, and I bought drawing paper and crayons and stuff like that, and it was really cheap, so I could afford it, and I used the time and started to paint, to draw or paint a little bit on paperwork, and developed back my own dynamic in my own handwriting. So there came a period of very realistic, my style of realism, drawings. And from that I moved on. After a while I moved on. It was very dynamic and with a lot of energy. And after that came, I wanted to reduce it. I want to see what happens if I go from these elements more and more in the parts. I took more and more the abstract parts out of the drawings and tried to bring them in a more and more abstract world. And then came the moment I thought, okay, if the language shows some concrete story, cannot the language of a story also shows a story by just colors? You colors and very reduced forms. And that was the point I started with oil paintings. And to express these emotions, I used a very reduced style of abstract oil paintings. And I was very successful with this style. The people loved it and they were, oh, great, it's beautiful, it's a perfect wall decoration for my apartment and so. And I did it a while and the people said, that's unique and that's your style and keep that. And in that moment, when everybody says, this is good and keep it, I get bored and I had the feeling, no. That is, it was to find out, this is a period, for example. This is a good example because it's just here. This is one of these, this is the time of this. I don't know if it's possible to see. Oh, sorry, upside down. Yeah, don't even know it. It's very reduced. There had been a period of yellow paintings, just a little bit stripped, and I scratched something out. And so it's a very fine, elegant, but abstract way. And I did a lot of them. And after that, I thought, hey, and I had to break through and got a wild period. The concrete of the opposite of that. A wild period because I had to break up this too technically reduced, clear, quiet, meditative style. I had to give emotions back in, and I had a wild, rough style, and I changed the technique from oil. It had been also oil, but I changed it in tempera and had wild stories. I wanted to have my language, of my picture language back. And I painted then, there was a rough style and then it slowed down and reduced. And then came a period where I was interested to give different stories a very clear picture. So I used portraits from Picasso or from Jesus Christ or Madonna or whatever persons or people I don't know, and started to work them out, and I mostly used photographs, what I overworked on the computer, and created there an abstract form or a reduced form in black and white out of it, and then I used the little drawings and projected them on a big canvas because I wanted to have the person, the picture, the portrait or whatever in a clear form, but I added my personal handwriting language. So there had been bubbles and lakes and energy forms and colors. They had nothing to do with reality, but it was a need to combine that. And this is a style what kept. I mean, here, for example, that's a print. What I did with a friend of mine, a painter friend, Richard Jurtic. He had a great print machine at his studio. He bought a really good silk screen, I think, Siebdruck in German, I don't know, a silk screen, whatever, print machine, and we started to print something. I got the job to sell 50 of the prints, and I printed that. That is one of the things I printed, but the print is abstract, or it's a flower in the backside, and on top I made a portrait over it. That's Gottfried Ephraim Lessing. And it's just a portrait of a person of history, and I had a lot of ideas in that direction, and I think one of my favorite ideas is to combine the abstract world with concrete elements or concrete parts, and this can be stronger, like here, a clear person, but it can be also switch away in a non so clear area. Depends just in the mood or the idea I have. And I think this is a part what developed and changed, and sometimes I reduced it to very little forms, and then happened a period. I think this is a painting of this is a better one. They've been not finished, but that is something like, you see, one form, and it's a pattern, and the pattern repeats. It's a repeating pattern, and I think I have here one more, something like this also. You see, it's a form, and the form is repeating, and there was that was, I think it was maybe influenced by my mother, as she, as a fashion designer, you have a lot of material of fabric where is a kind, in German it's called report. A figure what repeats all the time. Some stuff we call it report. I don't know the English term for that, but I had the idea I have to put that on a painting and create something out of that. And then one day, I always, the technique of painting, when I use oil colors or whatever, and the brush has too much of the color. Instead of put it in the solution, what is too liquid for me, I used a roll of toilet paper and switched that in the toilet paper and went on with another color. And after a while there had been on the floor a lot of toilet paper strips with beautiful colors from the brush. And one day I looked at that and said, my God, that's a complete perfect painting. And then I had a period, I started to put the toilet paper strips with color from the brushes and glued them on a canvas and used that as an underground to paint over it and started to go over. So there came a whole period of toilet paper paintings. I called them toilet paper paintings, and that thing. And there came, that was a very interesting thing. So I tried to combine different things always together. And another period, for example, just what I be interested is, or I had been always interested in, to copy my dreams. Every time when I wake up in the morning, I have a complete clear picture of the dream where I stayed in, and it's like a TV. You switch the channel and you be in another program, and it's the same real like here. But the program is, the world is different, the people are different, the animals are different, the life form is different, it is everything different, the cast, the technology is different there, but it's real. And I moved there and I be very familiar there, like here. And then I try to remember, I can very well remember that my dreams. I have every time on my Nachtkastel, on my bed table, I have a drawing book or a paper at least, or some, and a pencil, and then immediately I make some notes or make short drawings about this dream world. And a while I used these little sketches and made big paintings out of it, because I thought it's very interesting to get this story into that. And I think this was also interesting. But from the beginning on, I can say that the idea of transport out of my dream world into the paintings had been the major project or the major idea of all my doings in the paintings, in the artwork. Because I think the world of dreams is very interesting. It's much more interesting than we have here in mind. And I tried to be a traveler between two worlds. The camera, it would be so fun if I could take a movie camera there and make some movies. Maybe the technology one day allows that. That would be great, but at the moment I can only try to transport something over the pictures I produce here. And what it is good for, I have no idea. But I have the intention or the feeling it is for something good. And So there came periods of more realistic paintings with figures, with persons, with something where people can see and have a relation to that, but always the background or the underground or the side effects of a painting had been always something not realistic, that I never was interested. I was trained in my young days to make super hyper realistic artwork, paintings, drawings, yes, but it's I didn't see a sense into that, to do that, because I thought, take a photo camera, make a photo and it's there. Why shall I do that in paintings? That's a different language. And by the way, I like photography very much, and I do a lot, and I use a lot the photo cameras and make a lot of photography all my life. It's a balance, because the photography is the complete real to pick up the reality as good as it is possible with this technology from here. And the paintings is to pick up the reality as good as it possible from the other side. And I think it's both is a good balance, and both is a good, keeps in balance. And so, is this the major stuff what I have done? I don't know. It's so difficult to try to go through their own periods. I mean, I should look up my web page and look where the years had been counted. And of course, the last 15 years of my teaching period, it was very reduced, my production. I did, but you have not the free energy anymore to go full into this program, because I mean, there had not been only the teaching job, I had a lot of construction work to do, and as you see, the last years cleaning up the apartment of my studio, and so that is so time consuming and exhausting that you have not so much energy to go in the production of pure painting. But a short break.